Hey everybody, Craig with the Triathlete here. In today's video, which is the first Meet the Athlete video, we're going to talk to a good friend of mine, Brian Zobel, awesome triathlete, founder of Tri856, and just finished his own challenge of 20 triathlons in 2024 to celebrate his 20 years of triathlon. So check out this interview. I think you're going to love it. So, Brian, thanks for being here today. I pulled you away from, you just finished a workout?
Yeah, just finished my run.
What was your workout today? We're curious. Tell us what your workout was today.
70 minutes.
70?
Yeah. First 15 minutes, I guess endurance base are a little bit better.
Right.
And then the last 20 minutes, it was supposed to push it to fatigue my legs.
So the fast finish kind of.
Yeah, fast finish after an hour's worth of run.
First part of that's a low heart rate.
Yeah,
low heart rate zone 2 kind of thing, like aerobic, nice and slow, or were you pushing it a little bit?
No, I was just pushing it.
You're pushing
I suppose the purpose of the session was to fatigue you.
Ah, okay.
So it was beyond the normal, say, easy or whatever.
What's the next thing coming up?
Oh, turkey trot, a 5K.
The turkey trot 5K?
Right now, believe it or not, that's what I'm training for. It's just a 5K,
right.
Just to see if I can get some speed back or whatever, because, yeah, it's been a while.
Is that the last race of the season?
No, I doubt. Well, there's 2 turkey trots. I'm going to do one. One on Thanksgiving and then the one on Saturday. In town.
You don't stop, do you? You don't turn off. Yeah, you don't turn off.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the turkey trot, and then I guess the next big one after that's the love run, which is a half marathon.
Half marathon.
So.
Yeah, well, you're coming off a pretty crazy year. You had the 20 and 24. This was a self-concocted idea of yours?
Yeah, whatever. Just actually, how I was working out, up in the man cave or whatever, and I noticed one picture on the wall was a picture of my first try, and I looked at the date. I was like, oh my God, it's like 04. And then it hit me. I was like, Jesus Christ, I've been doing this for 20 years. God damn, I'm old. So then I came up with this idea. It's like, oh, I should celebrate by trying to do 20 races in 24.
And you did it. You did 20. Yeah. Raced 20 triathlons this
Actually,
season.
I ended up doing 22. Because I did the 20 and then they had nationals. And then there ended up being another one after that. So I said, what the heck? I did that.
Oh, my goodness.
And then just ran out of time.
So, all right. So take us back to that moment where you're in your, would you call it your cave? You're in your cave.
Kind of like what you got here. Basically where my trainer is.
And you see this photograph. Like, do you go back in time in your head? Like, do you remember? Do you remember that first race?
Oh, I remember that first race 100%.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What's vivid? What's vivid about that day?
I wasn't a swimmer. I mean, I didn't even know how to swim. So just the fact that I got through that part of it. But yeah, it was just completing it or whatever, because it's the first time I ever did one.
Yeah.
So it was just. Funny part was I was looking at the photograph, and just ran in like a t-shirt, a pair of running shorts, and that was it. Now it's all this fancy gear and this, and you got that, and you got that. Back then, you just went out and did it. So.
Yeah. But you have, you're 20 years older, you're 20 years wiser, you have 20 years of race experience, right? So like, if we could, Marty McFly you back to 2004, right? And there's Brian Zobel at the starting line, right? What does Brian Zobel of today say to that guy at that starting line? Like, what would you do differently? Would you do anything differently? Because there's going to be tons of new athletes, right? I mean, that's the purpose of this channel, right? We're trying to get
just at that race, or you mean now? What would I have done differently for these last 20 years? Or whatever?
Well, I think it applies to both, right? Because whatever you would have done differently that day, hopefully with 20 years of wisdom, you would carry through. Right. The next
20 years are kind of what I learned over the time, and what the coaches tell you. It's just pacing, or not. I mean, having never done one, you just go out and you just go, as they say, balls to the walls kind of thing. You just go. Luckily, it's only a sprint, so you can kind of get away with doing that. But then getting into the long course stuff, you learn more to, don't hammer this first run, or you got the second or the bike, and so you just, it's more in the coaching. If anything that I would learn to do, it's just, the coaching end of it. You know,
coaching part of it?
Follow, whether it be out of a book or you're hiring a coach or whatever, but stick to that. Because the excitement of the race always, and I still do that. You always go out way faster than you're supposed to. And then you end up blowing up at the end.
Yeah.
And it's hard to overcome that. Still after 20 years, I still do that. Even my first run's always fair, because you think, hey, I'm feeling great, Yeah, what the heck? It doesn't matter that I couldn't do this in training, but now I think I can on race day. That doesn't pan out.
No. I think
it's a lot of discipline. You just got to learn to,
nothing new on race day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing ever new on race day.
No matter how great you feel or whatever,
Yeah.
save it for the end. Like on the longer ones, it's always like, stay level and race the last whatever, the last 10K or the last whatever, portion of your races. That's where you start to race it.
Yeah. Well, I've been to races, with you. I'm putting you in the spot. You are a local triathlon celebrity. You can shun that all you want, but I've been
Maybe just because I've been doing it for so long.
Well, yeah, people come up to you and they want to take pictures with you, and I remember driving to the Nationals with you, and your phone did not stop dinging for the hour and a 20-minute drive down there. Brian, where's check-in, and what time is this? And you were just...
I get asked all the questions.
Yeah. But that means you have a lot of answers, right? Everyone thinks you have a lot of answers, and you do have those answers. So if you had, let's say you go to a race, right? And I've seen it happen. What do you tell people at their first race? Like, what would you have wanted someone to tell you at that first race, or someone who's thinking about getting into triathlon, or someone who maybe says, I would love to do it, but I can't do it. I'm afraid to do it. I can't do it. Take us back to 20 years ago and hype yourself up. What are you telling these new athletes?
What I would tell somebody new going into it is like, you're just racing yourself. Even though, we all want to, do well or, get on the podium or whatever. But what they say, comparison is something robber of joy or something like whatever that phrase is. It's you that day, and whether you've never done one, something to compare it to, or you're racing against your last 5K or your last 10K or whatever. But it's just your time. Don't worry about whether, your podium, that's an extra thing. Yeah. But in other words, here's what I tell myself, because people say, there's always going to be somebody faster than you. There's people slower than you, and there's people that are faster than you. So don't peacock, as they say, and think, it doesn't matter where these are local small races. It's not go to nationals or go somewhere to a real race, and then you'll see where you really stand.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. This past year was my first time ever at nationals, and you do notice a vibe shift, for lack of a better term, where we go to a lot of these local races. We race the Delmo races and the DQ races and stuff like that. And even Ironman Brandon races, there's like a party atmosphere, celebratory atmosphere, where I think everybody can just get in their own head and just do their own thing and have fun. But yeah, when you get to the other levels of racing, you're definitely more aware, I think, of who is around you and what their times are, and that gets in your head a little bit, and I think you start worrying about, this person's doing this person's doing that.
Yeah, you look and say, they did that, or start looking at the equipment. I don't have this, or I don't have that, or he's got a speed suit on, and I got this.
Yeah.
But
I would imagine
you're just there for that day and your time, and that's all you can do. Is like they say, give it your best on that given day.
Yeah, and I think as a beginner too, I'm trying to go back in time, too. It's more intimidating when you get started, right? I think if you're a beginner and you showed up to a big race and you see 2,000 bikes in triathlon, everybody kind of looks like they know what they're doing. Yeah. Little do they know, no one knows what they're doing.
That's something I tell people too, is don't judge anybody by either what bike they got or how beautiful their outfit is, because, there's people out there, with $10,000 bikes and look the whole part and everything, and you'll see them and you're blown by them or whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, buying the equipment doesn't get you necessary to finish. And that's probably one of the things that I'd tell a new person is like, you don't need the newest and most expensive bike or equipment. Like I said, my first race, I literally did it in the whole swim, bike, and run in the same nylon run shorts. Bought a used bike, didn't have any, no speed suit, I didn't even wear a swimsuit. Just did it in the run shorts, rode the bike and everything, and that was it. And it was fine, So, once you get up, beyond that, I guess, things start, you start trying to knock off seconds here or there.
Yeah.
But if you're starting off, don't worry about it. Don't spend a lot of, money on things. You don't know, or it's going to change.
Yeah, it's funny. People say if you want to buy the best triathlon bike, just to go on Facebook Marketplace and buy a bike of some guy who tried it and quit after the first year.
Yeah. Well, you say, like, as you say, people ask or say, oh, they know you and everything. I still ride my bike's from, I don't even know when, like, it's still a 10-speed and an older bike. And I just tell people, I haven't outridden it yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, like, I could get a $10,000 bike. Is it really going to make me that much faster?
No, I tell my kids all the time when they talk about stuff like that, I love just peppering them with dad jokes, and I'll just say, I got to work on my 2 engines, engine 1 and
exactly
engine 2
what I say.
before
I just tell people I haven't outridden it yet. Or what I'll tell a lot of beginners, I say, they're going to spend all this money on a bike. I tell, again, if you have the means or you're looking to spend that, you'll get faster, spend it better, spend it on coaching or spend it on that. Yeah, or race, you're going to buy a new set of race wheels for $1,500. If you put that into coaching or whatever, or say a power meter or something like that, you're going to get a lot more improvement than buying that bike and it's going to buy you 10 more seconds or whatever.
What do you?
You still got to ride it. Somebody's pushing it.
Right.
The bike
true.
doesn't have till date. They haven't allowed you to put an engine on it yet. So you're still the engine. So you got to work on that first.
So after 20 years, I would assume that you've seen. I'll guess. I would guess that you've seen some repeated pitfalls or trappings of beginner athletes. They tend to maybe fall into the same, difficulty or the same challenges or the same, I don't want to say mistake. It's got a connotation to it. But what do you see year after year? These beginners kind of like maybe spending their money in the wrong place, not spending enough time training on a certain discipline, forgetting about, what do you see? What is a common thing you see over the last 20 years?
Like you said, I see a lot of, not to be disrespectful to anyone, but a lot of people spend their money, I'll see somebody buy that bike or buy these race wheels, and then you look at the, you see
the results.
You're saying, this person's only doing 15 miles an hour, and again, no disrespect to anybody. But if you're not going over 20 some, it's not gaining anything. It looks pretty and everything. But you can see it in there in transition. Somebody with an X amount of bike that you can just tell by the way they're getting off and on. They're a beginner, which is fine. But like I said, the money would be wiser spent somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it's still fascinating.
And not to just stick on the equipment end of it. I'd say more of it, we were kind of talking about this another time, is that I see people doing is not getting a recovery in, or just one of the biggest things you get tied into the sport is, they'll want to do every race, or they go out with, or it's a very social sport, which is what's great and why I do it. But then going out, every time somebody says, I want to run and do this, they're going out and they're running all the time and they're doing whatever, and it's not really following any training plan, so. They're trying to do good on that race, but then the night before, they they went out and did a 10-mile run just because friends were going out and running or whatever, and then they got a race the next day.
Yeah. So. What keeps you coming back? I mean, 20 years is a long time to be dedicated to a sport. I think it's incredible, but something's bringing you back every season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Quite honestly, it's probably the friendships that you make, like I said, it's very social. So, I've made friendships that I've carried on for that 20 years, and people that have literally gotten out of it, they've since moved on, had kids, they would, the life, whatever.
Yeah.
But so you maintain the friendship. So it's really the social end of it. The friendships you make doing it, and then it's always a challenge. You can always get a little bit better.
Yeah.
So my end, and why do you come back next year? Is I try to beat whatever I did the year before. Still fighting for all the time, but you still try to do better.
Yeah. Was that a consideration when you started Tri856, the social element? What was the catalyst? What was the reason? What made you start Tri856? Which I have to say, I don't know if I ever told you, when I first got in the triathlon, Tri856 was like my Bible. So no, I told you that, but I spent so much time on that site and asking so many questions.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's kind of like why I originally started is you get a lot. didn't want to. This is the way I am on. I mean, it's for people that don't know or whatever. It's a Facebook-based site that you just post all things triathlon or whatever.
Yeah.
So people will post on there, your daily run. I ran this morning 5 miles, and they'll put their pace and all that kind of stuff up. So I wanted to kind of create a site, and maybe this was just on my end. It's like I didn't post stuff like that on my personal Facebook page because to me it seemed like I didn't want people to feel like I was bragging. Oh, here's Brian. He's always telling us, oh, he ran 8 miles today. So I wanted a site where you can put it on there and feel comfortable with it, and it's not like you're bragging to people.
Yeah.
So that was the main reason to do it, so I can post, because I get a lot of motivation out of seeing that. You may post and say, hey, I did my whatever run today or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to keep up with it, or that's right, I should be doing. So it kind of keeps you motivated. Like the friendship and the social end of it is really what keeps you going or motivated about it. So that was the main reason I created it. Was to be able to post that, and I wanted a page that included, like, we have a lot of local tri clubs in the area. So I didn't want, like if you belong to this one, you don't hear anything from that one kind of thing. Yeah. So it's all inclusive. It basically wasn't, it's kind of grew into it almost a tri club, but in the beginning it wasn't supposed to be a club per se. It was more of a group. So you could be any club, and that's the way it's set up. You could be a Badger, you could be, whatever, Northeast, and everybody posts on there. So that's what I try to keep maintaining about, is to get everybody on there. And then, like you said, I kind of just always try to put some kind of content on there.
Yeah.
But then it's become that people, like you said, they look at it or will ask stuff. Hey, anybody know about this? Or I have race directors putting stuff on there about their races and this, or people trying to sell their equipment or whatever. But that's kind of what it is. It's just an all-inclusive kind of a thing. So it doesn't mean it, well, if you're in Mulligan Hill, you can't talk to so-and-so.
Yeah. I mean, it is the place to go for triathlon information in this area.
It's crazy. Yeah, well, and I have good friends on there. But the one girl that I've talked to, she's hopefully going to make me a quilt for the 20th thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. She lives in Wyoming, so it's grown. Like, it originally started, and again, for people that don't know, there's a local running store here that had a Run 856. So when they started that up, then I asked the owner, the owner of that store, was it okay to use the term Try 856? So he was like, yeah, real supportive of it, and offered, we got visors, and he sold them in his running store and everything, So that's kind of like where it went. But yeah, now it's, I don't even know, I haven't looked lately. I mean, it's well over 1,500 people as well, but it's people all over. I mean, like the United States. I mean, it's still based, if you look on there, the people posting, say, of their runs and stuff, it's local people. But it's people all across the United States. So it kind of like grew really kind of crazy. Yeah. Like in the beginning, it was just like, wear the visor, try 856, so we can, it was a support thing. So the page was like, well, if we see the visor, we're going to scream out, go try 856. So it didn't matter whatever kit, you raced in, it didn't matter. Then it kind of grew in, and some people were like, oh, well, can we get, a tri kit? Can we get T-shirts? And it kind of grew to that. I was trying to keep it away from that, but it kind of did.
The community
just by its own,
There's a demand.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember when I first started going on that page and feeling so nervous and scared, because, as a first timer, sometimes there's an element of fear, right? I mean, I remember being afraid to go to the lake and do my first open water swim because I didn't know anybody, and I felt like everybody knew each other, and that sense of community at the time as an outsider was very apparent.
Yeah, but hopefully once you went there, because that's what I find is good about it, is that it's so inclusive. Yeah, like people like I said, they either see you with a Tri 856 or just see it. They're very. That's what's great about triathlon, I think, is because it's very inclusive. Yeah. You look at baseball, if you don't hit whatever, you don't make the team. You look at basketball, you can't do this and don't make the team. Triathlon, we're we'll stay out there till the very last person is running. I mean, a person could be running a 20-minute mile, whatever. They're still everybody is supported. I've never seen anybody, I'm not sure there's somebody out there, but I've never seen anybody like bad, no. Like saying, oh, well, they can't do whatever. So in particular on the Tri 856, it's a way to go and cheer everybody on no matter what their time was, where they finished, or where, you know, what their bike is, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I think what's great about it. Yeah, because you didn't have to. I mean, I was no great athlete in high school or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You're just, like I said, you're kind of going just against your own time. Yeah. What's you see all over Facebook, you know, like a 18-minute mile is the same as a same distance, 6-minute mile versus 18.
Sure,
that kind of a thing. So, I mean, you've seen it at the local races. You know, you see somebody that you if you saw them in the store or something, you would think, okay, that person's not an athlete, and then here they are out there giving it their best, and that's what I have more. What do you call it? Appreciation, or maybe that's the right word, for somebody that's doing that. You know, that's there, is doing that, fighting, and the guy that was the American track star.
Yeah, I mean, you can be, and I've definitely noticed that. You know, there's triathlon seems to me to be like the great leveler in terms of sport, right? So I've seen people of all fitness levels, all body types, all body shapes, all ages, and everybody's out there. 90% of the people are out there with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And 90% of the people are excited to be there. They're happy to be there. It's a huge accomplishment, you know, physically and mentally. And I think there's an addictive quality to it.
There is.
I think
like
that once you get started,
what keeps bringing you back, and that's what it is. It's like, because you made it an accomplishment. It's something you did. Like I said, whether it's the first time you ever did that distance, for me, I never even swam. First race that I signed up for, you know, like you literally could walk, you know, like and most people did. You could touch bottom, you know, like so. Like I said, I could barely swim.
Was it Vincent Town by chance?
No, it was Marlton Lakes. You could right out where his fires were.
Yeah.
You could touch bottom of it, and that's the only reason I agreed to, do it. You know, the guy who was trying to talk me into doing a triathlon, he lived at that lake, so we walked out there, and he says, "Yeah, you just have to swim over." I was like, "You want me to swim from here to there?" You looked across the lake. It was all the way across this lake, all the way over there, and it's only, it's a quarter mile swim, but it looked like it was 100 miles. I was like, "You're nuts!"
Yeah.
But I literally, like 25 yards and then walk 5 feet, 25 yards and walk 5 feet.
Oh yeah.
But then it's addictive. Like you said, hey, maybe I can do this. Yes. And you go to the pool, and then
Before I did my first one was it was Delmo, it was Wildwood, and Delmo Sports in the Try the Wildwood, which I still have just such great fond memories of that. And before I did it, in transition that morning, setting up, I remember a couple guys said, "Oh, it's your first race?" I said, yeah, it's my first race. They said, "I'll tell you what, man, when you see that finish line, you're gonna be a little sad." And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, "I promise you that finish line is going to come earlier than you thought, and you're going to be a little disappointed that the race is over." And I was, at that point, terrified to swim in the ocean, because that was an ocean swim. My first one was in the ocean. I had, been on Try 5-6, telling everybody how nervous I was. And I remember one specific post, I said, it was the day I learned that the swim out and the swim back in count towards the overall distance. And I remember putting a little meme of this squirrel putting his hands up like this, excited. Because I was like, all right, great. The 100 yards takes me getting out, and the 100 back in, which are basically body surfing, that all counts towards the race. So all these little tiny victories that I was still trying to overcome. But I'll tell you what, they were right. When I got to that finish line and I saw it, I was like, man, this over so quick. It's over so fast. And I couldn't wait.
Can't wait to sign up for
another one. Could not wait to sign up for the next one.
It's definitely addictive, or it's definitely, people get hooked on it.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Because you make these achievements in your life. You do stuff that, like you said, you thought I could never do this. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to try to do, this. Maybe I'm going to try.
Yeah.
So it's little victories all along the way. That, as they say, it's the journey. It's the race is like, it's the journey getting there. Everybody says the same thing, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and then it spider webs out. I thought, at least for me, I don't know if it did for you, but once you get through that first triathlon and you go, man, I just swam a quarter mile in the ocean. I did this bike. I did this run. The next time you're waiting in line at the grocery store, or you're in traffic at a red light, it doesn't seem as catastrophic or as difficult to get through, because you have this frame of reference. It's like, I just did this crazy thing that I didn't think I could do. And for me, I just feel like it opened up other areas in my life where I was like, well, what else? What else can I do that I thought was impossible? What else? I just feel like it opens a lot of doors, and it kind of really changed. I really think that first race changes a lot of your outlook on
it makes you realize that
life.
Yeah, no, because you see, hey, I just put myself towards it, I can, achieve whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And I think the hope of this channel is to, as we talked about when I first asked you to come on, is just, we know what it's like to be in transition when you have, 100 people cheering for you and they know your name and you're part of this community. It's an incredible feeling.
Yeah,
like
until
the
you
friendship.
experience that. I mean, if you talk to, you go to a reunion or something, I talk to other, people from my class or whatever, so, they're like, oh, you're crazy. It's like, when I did my first Ironman or whatever, like, oh, I don't even like to drive my car 100 miles, let alone, bike on it. What are you, nuts? But if they did it, or you get there and do it, then you just see, oh, yeah, what an achievement, or just what it feels like, And it's a personal thing. It's definitely an individual sport in that respect. I mean, it's a team sport. When you create the Triathlete 5-6, or just because you're out there, and as very supporters, so you feel like you're part of the team. But it's all you. It's not. So you're either doing it or you're not doing it, whatever. Whether you quit, they say it's all in your head, whether you quit or you don't. That kind of thing is true. It's not like a true team sport like baseball or something like that, where you can rely on everybody else. A football game or something like that. It's just you. So you get out there and, long course, the head starts, you start, maybe, did I really do enough? Did I do this or whatever?
And I've seen that. I mean, I've seen it even with my kids, whether it's cross country or swimming, or even when my kids, compete in triathlon. It's an individual sport, but in some ways and on some days, it feels more like a team sport than when they play actual team sports.
It is because it's, like I said, it's so inclusive and it's so supportive. Yeah. Like when you're out there, like you said, people will be cheering no matter where you come in. People are going to be screaming, like you said, if they know your name, they're going to be screaming for you no matter what. Or even when you're out on course. I mean, I'm out on course, I'm dying, running sideways or whatever, and somebody goes by you that knows you or whatever, it kind of just picks you up. Like, go Zobel or whatever.
And even if you don't know them. I mean, there's been countless times I've been out in the race. I've been on the course and somebody will come past me, blow right past me, and they're going, you're doing great, or keep it up, or your form looks great, or great job on this. Or at Nationals last year, not say last year, that was what, a couple months ago. It feels like forever. I was on the bike on the expressway, going doing my thing, and all of a sudden this guy comes flying up past me on my left, and he turns around and he looks as he passes me and he goes, you smoked me in the swim. And I was like, and now you're smoking me out here.
That's
so
what I mean.
it all balances
everybody's
out.
So supportive. I had that happen to me. Where I had that happen to me lots of times when I do dues or I do a relay. Because like for example, on a relay, you're only doing that one leg. So I usually do run. So I'm running where it's like, oh yeah, great form. You're looking for me. And I'll tell. I was like, yeah, I'm only relaying or whatever. Because they just did all this, and I'm only, so yeah, you blow by them. It's like, yeah, because I only ran.
Sure. But the support. I mean, it's. I hope that people that are watching this, that are thinking about getting into triathlon, or maybe they're just getting in, maybe they signed up for their first one, just to say that, just like you said, it's so inclusive, it's so welcoming, it's so inviting, it's addicting, and I think if I had to think of one, because I was thinking about this before you came over today, I was thinking about what is the one thing that I think about that's like the most inclusive or the most welcoming. And it was when my oldest son did his first lap at the lake at Camp Akhenaken at Stockwell, at Lake Stockwell. He was, I think, 7 or 8 years old, and he did his first full quarter-mile lap around. And I remember there were 4 people from Triathlete 5-6 at the little sandbar area that, where we all start our watches and stuff. And as he's coming around, he started to get close, maybe 50 yards away, and everybody stopped what they were doing, and they all stood and applauded and clapped him. They clapped him in the final 50 yards. And as a dad, first of all, and also as someone that I couldn't swim what he just did, like a year, like 6 months. I know, he might have been 8.
Still, I didn't say
it hit me on so many levels, and I was like, you know what, that's what it is. This is so fantastic.
It's like what keeps you coming back or why you do it. So yeah, if you join a group like Triathlete 5-6 or any one of the local clubs, it gives you that extra plus because it's just like a camaraderie.
Yeah, and it as I said, it opens up those doors. So just getting that first one, you have no idea what's gonna come after that, right? Like for you, was Ironman always the goal?
No, not at all. I mean, in my Ironman, well, one, like I said, I couldn't swim. Like a lot of people say, yeah, they grew up swimming in the pool. And I mean, I swam to get to the dock to save your life or whatever.
Yeah.
But I literally didn't know how to swim. You know, like when I first started, I was like, okay, how come I can, at that point, I had already done like a marathon or whatever. I can run a marathon, but I can't make it 25 yards to the pool. But you learn the technique. Once I realized, okay, you're supposed to breathe and not like hold your breath the whole entire way, you know?
Yeah, good tip.
But no, that's really, and I talk to a lot of beginner swimmers, that's what it is. It's the breathing.
Yeah.
You may not be trying to hold it the whole way, but you're not properly breathing, like and that's why I would get gas. I mean, I'd make it to 25 yards and I'd stop and breathe, and then get it. So once you learn that kind of thing, I mean, I'm still not a good swimmer, but.
No, I get what you're saying. I think too with
yeah, when you had that aha moment or whatever, it was like, and the Ironman was like, yeah, when I finished that swim, that was the one that kind of said it, like you said, almost brought a tear to your eye.
Yeah.
When I got out, well, two things. One, I wasn't a good swimmer, so I wasn't sure if, and that's even when I picked that particular race that I did, had what they call a time trial start. So you have 2 hours and 20 minutes, whatever it is, to finish the swim. But the way this one was set up, it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes from when the last swimmer went off. So if you got, like supposedly, whether it was real or not, if you got it, like in the beginning of the line, you suppose they had more. I mean, I made it, with time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the swim was my biggest fear. And then another crazy story on that. It was literally like only a few days before the race, or I should say a few days before. I had a buddy that I was flying to the race, but he was driving. So my bike was going out with him. So we went out for this let's go out one last ride, before, make sure everything's there. Don't you know, I ended up getting hit by a car on that last ride. No lie, I swear to God.
How did I know? Oh my God.
We're coming down the road or whatever, the lady trying to turn into our house, into her driveway or whatever, just broadsides, mate.
Which I am stunned. I never knew that.
Yeah. So this is like, the next day or whatever, my bike supposedly leaves to, go to Kentucky, which is where it was. Yeah. And of course, like everybody always says, is if something like that happens, you want to know you're a true triathlete. It's like, is the bike all right? Don't ask anything about your body, whatever. Yeah. So that was my biggest thing, because I was thinking, oh my God, the bike,
Yeah.
And I went home. I didn't even say I go home, my wife's there or whatever. Didn't say anything about getting hit. It was, I got to run my bike over to D&Q, which is a local bike store, just to get it checked or whatever. Because I knew it had to go out. So I wanted to see if it was bent, broke, or whatever. And then after I got back from D&Q, then I came back and said, oh, guess what happened?
Oh my God, I cannot believe I never knew that. But what they also say, I think you may have said this to me over the years. You get that first bug out of the way early, right? So if you have that first hiccup, I mean, in your case, it was a little bit more than a hiccup, a full heave. Do you go into the race thinking, all right, well, I got all my bad mojo out, so the race is going to be smooth sailing? You get that first thing out of your system.
Well, that's what I mean. It kind of was, the swim was the when I got out of the water, the swim. Why? Because like it wasn't when I got the race, it was everywhere. Like I had road rash all over my arms, so my arm was all oozing, gooey, thing. And you go to Kentucky and they have this sign right up out of water whenever it says, don't eat the fish in here. It's like, it's a polluted river. It's not good. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get some kind of disease or whatever. I was literally like there that day or whatever, going to the local store. I think I bought a pair of baby tights, like infant stretchy tight things to almost make like an arm warmer. Like I cut the leg off because I was trying to protect it. Like I said, it was still an open, what road rash is, right? So I put that on. Of course, it lasted 30 seconds before I rolled down or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, on the bike, I mean, every time I was down in air, and then I go to, if you get up out of air, it would stick like to the air. Luckily, smart, I knew it was going to be an issue, so I had brought like an ace bandage rolled up with me in my bike jersey. And I literally stopped and wrapped it all up so it would just stop sticking to the tongue. So getting out of the swim was a big thing. Then I was like, oh, that's it. I made the swim. I made the cutoff. The rest, I don't.
How did that feel? What did that feel like?
I'm telling you, when I walked out of that water and realized I had made the cutoff, that was it. I didn't care. I mean, I knew I was going to make the other. I just walked the whole darn thing. I didn't care. But I was just so afraid of not making that swim, because I'd never in my life. I mean, nowadays people, or even now myself, you'll train at distance back then the first time I don't train like I do now. So I had never swam that distance.
It's intimidating.
It was very,
I also find that, the progress is not, I talked to tons of people about this, the progress is not linear. So especially to new people watching this, don't expect this linear progression in fitness or ability, where it's like, okay, yesterday I swam 50 yards, today I'm gonna swim 75,
right.
The next I'll swim 100. I don't know about for you, but for me, it was way more stair-stepped.
Yeah.
It'd be plateaued for a little while.
It is, well, the swim's the hardest to make any, what do you call it, climb.
Yeah.
Right now. But there's also a lot, it says very linear, there's a lot of quick ropes in the beginning.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Some people say, I beat my last one by 10 minutes, and then it kind of, you kind of get to where you're supposed to. But in the beginning, if you've never done it before, you're like jumping like crazy, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but you got to get through that initial hump, right? Like you're saying about the breathing.
Yeah.
And you could probably go back and try 5-6 and find all my posts about this, where I would say, I swam 200 yards today and I'm gassed. I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to do this. I was pretty negative when I first got started. I don't recommend that. And I would just go on for weeks and weeks. I can only swim 200. Why can I not get 200? And then I'll never forget, it was at the pool over here. It was at Earlton Swim Club. And one morning, I hadn't been able to swim for more than 200. That was my max. I just couldn't do it. I got tired. I could not swim more than 200. And I'll never forget, I was driving to the pool and I was listening to music, and the song that I was listening to when I got out of the car was still in my head when I started swimming. This is wild. And I started singing it in my head as I was swimming. And I don't know if it took my mind off or whatever. And I swam 800.
Before I
even knew it. Right? Yeah, so I went from 200 to 800. And then, of course, I was stuck at 800 for 3 months, But it's wild how you can go and just be stuck and stuck and stuck. And then, boom, something just takes you to that next level. But I'm lucky, I'm happy that I stuck with it. And I didn't quit during those first couple months where I was stuck at 200. Because if you stick with it, there is something on the other side of that frustration.
Like, you see the saying all the time, it's, 5% training, 95% mental. Because it's really, like, when you're out there, you're by yourself or whatever. It's a lot easier to say, phoning it in, as they say, or you keep pushing.
Well, I think I think those are going to be the closing words. If I had to think, from this or from our conversation, I think I want everybody to know it's 95% mental and only 5% physical. Yeah. And just go out there and, what do you say? Go out there and what?
Kick it.
On that note, thank you, my friend.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll see you out in the run.
Yeah, okay.
All right, bud.